Welcome back to Inside the Lines. I hope everyone's having a great day. Another quiet slate, but we do have a lot of college basketball. A few things we have some model value on. Have a nice little parlay for you guys. But what we think is most important right now, no Jake today, just me and Steven. So we're going to do our best without him to talk about some college basketball here. Steven, tell everyone about the Sportsline Model bracket and how we've been doing the past few years with that.
Yeah, we've been right around the 90th percentile or better for, I think, 5 of the last 6 years. One year we had Michigan State as a number 2 seed as winning the whole thing. And they were the betting favorite, and they were considered the best team in Vegas. But they lost to someone in the second round, some blue team, Middle Tennessee. And I was relatively new to the company, and one of our senior executives put all his pool money into Michigan State and kindly sent me a nice note. But anyway, on to better things. But in the end, look, I've been running these kind of similar Monte Carlo simulations for each game possible. What we do is we rely on Jerry Palm to send us his bracket that you see in Bracketology. He does a great job for all the 68 teams. And we load them in and we run simulations of every possible matchup. There's around 3,300 possible matchups. And we know that, and then we are able to upload that into our bracket game. So if anyone's on CBS, we can use our Sportsline model to make their picks. More importantly is a lot of people do end up relying on our numbers. So if you're trying to do a game theory, and you can see like everyone, if the model's high on say 111 seed to upset a 6 seed, then you might want to fade the model knowing that you want to differentiate from other people. So there's benefits to, even if you like us, agree with us, hook, line, and sinker or not. I think most people have the best success with taking 95% of what we do and then changing again strategically 1 or 2 things to stand out from the crowd, or maybe have 3 or 4 brackets and you play, you have a 1 seed lose in the second round in each of them, different one, play like that.
Right. Well, I see the chat starting to come in here. We're going to go over what our bracket would look like right now if the tournament started today. Again, I said this in the chat, but I think we should get a good community parlay going today. I'd like to hear everyone's college basketball picks that they have for this massive slate, because honestly, we don't have too much model value, but we love trusting the gang too as well. So I think it could be fun if we get a little 3-leg parlay, maybe a 4-legger with some confident picks from the chat. So would love to hear you guys start to chime in. Let's head over. Again, this is what our bracket would look like right now. We are high on UConn, which feels kind of lame. However, there is literally nothing you can say poorly about this UConn team other than they won last year, and it's hard to go back to back. But yeah, I mean, in that, it's just they're dominant.
They're winning with basically a whole new cast of key players. So it's very impressive. And we've said this before. They'd probably be much better betting value. They'd probably have much better odds if they hadn't won last season. In this region, the notable things, there's only 2 notable things besides UConn being dominant. You do probably want to act now on a UConn to make the Final Four while you still get plus 120 on it, because FanDuel has that at minus 105, so that steam might be coming down. The 8-9 projected matchup, Michigan State and UVA, we think both are underrated. We have it as basically a coin flip, but we like both as tied for 5th in the region, and they're 8 and 9 seeds, so we see those teams as potential sleepers. Also picking an upset of the number 11 seed Northwestern versus South Carolina, because in the model, neutral courts, the model equally weights teams' road and home splits. And South Carolina does not shoot threes well on the road and turns it over 3 more times than opponents on the road, whereas Northwestern travels well. They shoot a really high 39% three-point percentage, both road and home. So, and their turnovers actually go down on the road, which is why in this matchup we like the 11 seed.
Right. Before we head over to another region, let's head over to the model. I see some plays coming in from the team potentials. I'm going to start writing these down for our community parlay here from the chat. Let's take a look at Texas Tech here. They're laying 5.5 points.
Yeah, we like that. So let's go ahead there. We have a lean at almost minus 9, so that's a pretty good value.
Oh yeah. All right,
61% to cover.
Love. All right, Rebecca's coming in with San Fran St. Mary's over 133.
I love it at 2. We have 141 projected, so let's go with that. This is going to be nice, easy.
Nice. You're so smart.
Easy money.
Okay. That's some pretty good value as well. Yeah, Wenzel Walker coming in with Tennessee over Mizzou and Duquesne over St. Louis. I don't know if that's money line value or.
Okay. So the Duquesne game, we actually have spread value on St. Louis, But if it's a money line, then we still obviously favor Duquesne by a high 78% to win.
Well, if we're doing a pretty fat parlay, I mean, the Duquesne
it might be
juice
good to get Tennessee versus. We do like Tennessee, I know, as a tournament team. They're pretty heavy favorites. We do have a slight lean at a -13. The line was bet down from -13 to -12. So I like Tennessee as well.
All right. These are all potentials. Going to star a few as well. Josh Davis just confident in Texas A&M regardless of whatever the hell it is. He just thinks Arkansas is terrible.
Let's see. We have value on Arkansas against the spread. Let me see why. I'm not sure exactly why. Nothing's jumping out at me. Texas A&M isn't particularly good against the spread at home, even though they're 10-3 straight up. So looks like they've underperformed expectations in terms of spread.
All right. Well, let's keep cooking in the chat, and we'll head over to another conference to talk about. Again, just another way to show you guys which teams we're high on here. Heading over to the West. Arizona, I know they're a 1 seed. However, this is pretty big news for us to actually like them to make it to the Final Four. It's a team we in the past don't like. And again, teams from the West Coast typically do not end up doing well in this tournament in general. But why do we like them this year?
I didn't know because I rely on Jake heavily to run and manage college basketball, which he's done very successfully over the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. But I looked into it, and basically they have a new coach from last season to this, and their pace is way up. So their possessions per game are up around over 5%, I believe, and the average game total is up plus 11 points. But they're only allowing 2 more points per game. So this increased point total is 85%, 90%, almost 89% attributed to their increased offense. Mm-hmm. Their field goal percentage isn't any better. So they haven't been turning the ball over. They take care of it well. So they were playing a fast-paced, high-octane offense without turning it over. And that's why they're vastly improved in the model.
Okay. I want to draw our attention to the bottom of the board here with Kentucky. We have beating Duke, and then we have Kentucky beating Kansas. So obviously we have some strong feelings about Kentucky here, who are, I will say, coming off a great 2 games, beating Ole Miss and beating Auburn at home, holding them under 60 points. Their defense looks like they're actually trying now, considering it's a team of NBA prospects that typically don't like to try on defense. Now that they realize that they can do really well when they do, it seems like they are. Do you think this is a trend they continue with? Is that why we have so much value on Kentucky here?
Now that you say, yes. Thank you for pointing that out. But prior to this, I didn't notice that. I just get, when I hear Kentucky, Duke especially, I think back to my college days in 1992 and the classic Leitner versus Mashburn game and all that stuff. But we like Kentucky in the model, besides those improving defensive metrics, is their 3-point shooting. And they've been shooting really well road and home. And they have a pretty big differential in 3-point percentage. They also so they are 6-2 straight up on the road. So again, it's not a lot of road games, but when they're playing a top conference like the SEC, the model's valuing that strength more than they're out shooting opponents by nearly 10 percentage points, which is a massive gulf.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could get behind this Kentucky team big time if they can keep up what they've done the last 2 games. If they go to Alabama on Saturday and continue to actually play defense, this could be a pretty dangerous team and a pretty dangerous sleeper heading into the tournament here. All right, let's go back to the model here. 2 plays coming from Jeffrey here. He likes BYU minus the 3, as well as Central Michigan money line. We'll start with BYU here.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I'm surprised by this. So model loves BYU and Baylor. We have BYU in our model almost upsetting, I believe, Kentucky in the NCAA tournament, like only a 47% underdog. But despite that, we're actually leaning Baylor against the spread. So,
okay. How about Central Michigan?
Central Michigan versus Bowling Green. We have almost an identical spread as -1.5. We have a -1.3. So we do have some value on the over, but
all right.
I think
we could take the money line here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the line is. It's probably close to it's -125, 126 on the consensus.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let's talk about Wenzel Walker's got to play here. What do we think about Pitt versus Wake Forest if we like the over here? 146.5.
We lean over. We have a 149 projected, but it looks like the line's coming up, so we probably want to get that in. The consensus I have is 146, and now you're seeing 146.5, open at 144. So it looks like all this team's on the over.
Yeah. Rebecca pointing out the model looks like it likes Ohio versus Kent State here. Maybe we have some value in that game, but it looks like we got 5 pretty solid contenders I got written down for this mega group parlay that we're looking at.
Yeah, I suggested we definitely have a ton of value on Ohio. I like the parlay of potentially, and I think you could still get -3 in some spots. To the consensus -3.5 most places.
All right, I'll jot her down. She could be a potential. All right, let's move on. The Midwest. From what I looked at and what the model has, there's a lot of chaos going on over here. But again, the model is pretty damn good at these brackets. So I definitely want to attack some things here. The most obvious being we like Creighton over Purdue.
Yeah, so Jake has talked about Creighton. They're a good team, but they're not deep. And so if foul trouble or injury, obviously, could really sink them. But they only lost by 1 point to an eventual finalist, San Diego State. So you could argue there, and we had actually Creighton going far last year too, so that was a bummer. But Purdue, we like them over Purdue because the same thing that sunk Purdue last year in their shocking upset loss to FDU was they shot 19% from three and they turned the ball over like crazy. And again, their three-point shooting is much improved this season, going up from 32 last season to 40 this season, but they're showing some cracks recently. They've had a few sub 30% shooting games from three, and they're committing too many turnovers. Last 13 games, they committed more turnovers than opponents in 10 of them.
All right. Another interesting situation we have is Iowa State. I believe we like over UNC, who we have projected that would be a 2 seed as of right now. What would be the reasoning behind fading UNC here?
UNC, I think they're another one of those teams that doesn't necessarily travel well. They're okay on the road. I think it's more of a pro Iowa State. We had Iowa State, and we had them, covering 9,
right?
Covering 9 versus Houston yesterday. They won. They lost by 8. They're down early, pretty big, and they clawed their way back to stay somewhat competitive. But this is where the absence of Jake Fetner is tough. But I think we just haven't liked UNC because even though the model at this point is heavily relying on the current season, it doesn't. When it comes to individual player statistics, team defense wise, we tend to emphasize the current season more. But in terms of individual shooting percentages, we do rely on the player's career because there's going to be a number of games. So the same team that underperformed last year, UNC, they were 11-22 against the spread, and a lot of the same players. Those stats from last year's underperforming team are still influencing this year's UNC team.
While we're here in the model, I see some chitter chatter about UCF money line here. I didn't know they were playing tonight. I don't know who they're playing.
Let's see. UCF. West Virginia. Okay. Yeah, we do like them. We have them as almost 6-point road favorites. The line's actually moved the opposite, so maybe we'll get even a better price if we wait on there. Money line. If you want to, let me check odds, James, see if there's a better. Price on that stuff here. What time's the game? Let's see. UCF is at 7 p.m. Central. All right. Where are you? Unfortunately, they're all 7 p.m. games. It's Central Florida.
Oh, I see it. Wait. You just lost it.
All right. Keep talking.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Well, you keep looking at that. I'm going to move us on to the South region here. A lot of interesting things here going on, especially that we're fading Auburn. Definitely curious about that situation. Again, Houston, we've been pretty high on Houston. We like their value to make the Final Four. potentially win, but we also like Alabama to make a pretty decent run here, especially beating Marquette. We've always said Alabama definitely could be a team to make it to the Final Four if they can figure out defense. But I think the most notable thing here is to talk about Auburn and why we like them to get upset.
Yeah, this is a huge one. We almost think Alabama may be better off, even if it means losing, to get out of this bracket, because we have Alabama as the fourth best team in the country, period. And Houston as the number 2 team in the country, period. So right now they're matched up and in the same bracket. So I wouldn't. I think this story is all about Houston. The only other interesting thing about this is the battle for Jake Fettner's heart with blue and orange colored teams. He talked about in college football season his love of Boise because it was a blue field, and Florida's colors are. And so in that potential matchup, this is crazy. We actually favored the projected 9 seed Boise 50.1% to 49.9%. So it could not get any closer because I run an odd number of simulations in order to avoid a 50-50.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, you never know about Boise State here. I could see them as a little sneaky contender as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see in the chat if anyone has any predictions of what some of the biggest upsets in round 1 will be. If any of those big Hollywood teams go down, curious to see which team people think that is. All right, let's go. Before we head into, we're going to talk a little bit about the Thursday NBA games. We're going to take advantage of the fact that we have a few days to get some value on them. Just want to talk about some spreads and money lines. Before that, as for today and the college basketball slate, there is a plus money, plus 264, maybe 265 on some books parlay that we like here. We have value on Ohio over Kent State, which we mentioned, and we have value on Wisconsin, who seems to be a dominant home team.
Yeah, we, I think you faded Wisconsin when they were a road team against Illinois, who they lost, not Illinois, Iowa.
Shout out early edge on Saturdays. Yeah.
They lost in overtime in that game, even though they were up big early. So we're just going with them that dominant at home. They're, they're well, let me see here, 10-4 straight up, 8-6 with a plus 8 point differential. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. That's Ohio. Well, Wisconsin's plus 12 point differential at home. Maryland's minus 3 on the road. Maryland's been struggling. And here's a weird stat. Maryland is a great defensive 3-point percentage on the road. They allow 25%, but they allow 37% at home. So I think it's just an aberration. And you read, these are the last 7 Maryland road games. The home team has shot 24, 29, 21, 29, 27, 26, and 7% by UCLA. So I just think that regression to the mean, some team's going to shoot 35 to 40% against Maryland. It just doesn't make sense that a team that allows 37% at home in front of their home crowd would be so locked down. So I think it's just one of those quirks.
Right. Yeah. I'm big on Wisconsin here. I mean, they need this bad. I think they've had a brutal stretch of losing on the road. So to come back at home could be definitely good for them. Rebecca and a few people in the chat asking about Pitt here. They've been a covering machine. It seems they play Wake Forest today. I think the spread is 6.
They're 6 point dogs. We have them as 5.5 point dogs, so it's not a huge value. But I guess a consensus we would go with Pitt, even if not a ton of value.
And then what about
very impressive road splits?
What about Syracuse, another team people are talking about in the chat? But NC State.
We like NC State, but I think we've liked NC State a lot this season, and the public is backing NC State. The lines moved to full points. Over 70% of the public seems to be on NC State. So,
maybe we fade the public.
Yeah, but we like NC State, though.
Mm-hmm. All right. That, I believe, is all we have right now. I'm just going to not overthink it. I'm going to cook up on DraftKings right now, the college basketball parlay. If anyone feels strongly about any picks, speak now or forever hold your peace. Texas Tech, definitely going to be one of the big plays tonight for us. Let me find her. This might take me a second. Let me set you up with the NBA first. All right. Let's talk about some of these games at least. Again, might as well get on ahead of them while we can. We'll start with Orlando at Cleveland. We have some A-rated value on Cleveland to cover. We make the line closer to 12.5 here.
Yeah, I'm going to display my fancy new graphic, which hopefully will save Mackenzie some time and not look too bad. So basically, real quick, showing line movements, if there is any, versus the opening and the current consensus lines. None in this case, Cleveland 7.5. the over-under line, and then the money lines for hockey and baseball. I'll reverse that and show the movement on the money lines. These are the model lines. So we like Cleveland as -12 favorites, which is why this is an A-rated pick. The A-rated picks for the last 5 seasons combined on Sportsline they're graded based on the consensus closing line. So not the best values that we try to show here during the show. A lot of the best picks that we have, the closing line goes away, but those picks are 60% accurate. And while the number of A-rated picks have gone down over the years due to player load management issues, the accuracy is soaring. So again, profitable for every year for the last 5 seasons, and a 60% overall rate, 67% in the last 2 seasons. In this case, we like Cleveland because the Magic don't travel well. They have a -3.5 point differential on the road, get -2 point differential on the road, whereas Cleveland, their actual spread, their average spread for the last 14 games is -12, almost -12.5. So that's what they finished in. 2-point field goal percentage is +5%. Their differential at home, and they are 4-2 against spread in the last 6 against Orlando.
Bang. Quick intermission here, back to the community parlay. I have Texas Tech that I like to cover. I have St. Mary's, the over in that game. Duquesne money line's -425. I feel like that's something I should be staying away from. Maybe we go Tennessee money line or Central Michigan money line. Anyone in the chat feel a certain way, you let me know. But I think I might go Tennessee money line. Was that a play we liked, or did I just make that up?
Oh, Tennessee's like way high minus like that.
Whoa.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Didn't know that. Guys, I don't know. Maybe Ohio to cover? Or do we go NC?
Did you say UCF? Did you say UCF as the other option?
Oh, yeah. Is that the one we like?
Yeah, that might be like -140-ish range.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's -142. Great job, Steven. Look at you with the quick math. All right. Those are the first 3 legs. I'm going to get a poll going in the chat of if we like Syracuse to cover or NC State. Okay, we're just going one or the other. Let's get the poll going. Yeah. And if anyone has any other plays, let me know, because I like when we do this together, and then we can ride this together, guys. Syracuse, NC State. All right. Let's get the poll going here. Let's move on to another NBA game. We'll go to one we actually have solid value on that we like, Phoenix at Dallas. We like the Phoenix money line here at plus money. Got to know what that model projection is.
Yeah, so the move that Dallas made to trade for Daniel Gafford from Washington is actually paid off early, especially. Gafford, in 2 games, he hasn't played huge minutes, 23 and 24 minutes, but he's had double-digit rebounds. He had 27 rebounds in 47 minutes as a math in the last 2 games. So that hurt. Without him, we'd have Phoenix actually as closer to a 2-point favorite. But we still like the value here. Now, the worry is that Bradley Beal is still a game-time decision, and he is worth around 1.5 points. But if Beal sits, we probably would slightly favor Dallas, but the money line would probably go up to like plus 150 or more instead of just plus 135. So I still think the Suns are good because the Suns are the same team on the road as they are at home. Their point differential is actually 3.3, which is slightly better than on the road at home. They shoot the same. All their splits are almost identical. And Dallas is obviously better at home, but I just have a faith in Phoenix's ability to travel.
Sorry, say again what the model projected score is.
We got Phoenix by 1. So
okay, yeah. No, I still like that.
22 to 121.
Guys, the overwhelming poll right now is NC State to cover at 70. Now it's going down 75, 78%. Still pretty overwhelming. Might have to go with that, but I'll let it sit till the end of the show here. All right, I think we have one more NBA game for Thursday slate that is certainly worth taking. Oh, maybe 2. It's worth taking a look at here. We do have A-rated value on New Orleans to cover a fat spread of 7, but we like it at 13.
I still saw this morning Caesars had -6.5, so let's jump on that at -115. Houston's just 9-16 against the spread on the road. Their 3-point percentages, they shoot 4 percentage points lower on the road, and they turn over the ball more on the road, whereas the Pelicans, they're solid 15-11 against the spread at home. They allow just 34% 3-point shooting. So this translates to this massive +9 percentage point advantage in 3-point shooting for New Orleans. They're +2 at home in turnover margin. So I like those splits in our favor.
Do we have any player props yet? Maybe a little Trey Murphy?
Not for this game yet. We'll see. Trey Murphy, they never posted, right?
Never. It's so frustrating. I will say we do have one more game. We haven't talked about the UConn Creighton game, which I did not know was tonight until right now at 8:30. I mean, we're pretty much in line with odds makers here, but that's a pretty telling game, right?
Yeah, it's very telling for both teams probably, and we slightly favor UConn. Not surprised. That's how strong we feel in Creighton as a potential 6th seed.
Yeah,
maybe some value on the over. Looks like Creighton home games average 5 more at home, and UConn games average 1 more on the road. So maybe there's some lean there.
Okay, not to keep bouncing back and forth, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. One more game I want to talk about here is Chicago to cover against Boston at home. That's a very interesting play here, Steven.
Yeah, not one I loved when I first saw it, but when I dug into it, I could buy it. Chicago's point differential is almost 50% of what it is at home. The average final spread is -13.7 at home versus -6.2 on the road. They're just 10 and 13. More importantly, they're coming in against a spread, at least not playing that great, 4-8-1 over their last 13. Whereas Chicago, they're a solid 14-12 at home. There's +2.4 point differential at home. And they're not good straight up against Boston, but in terms of covering, they're 4-1 their last 5 against Boston. And I'm also excited about Alex Caruso, his defensive nightmare. So,
blocks and steals.
So when we have here, I don't have his odds. I did see him. They had posted at obviously not -15. That's a typo. -115, over 2.5 steals and blocks. The over is on a 12-2 tear. In steals and blocks combined. So that might be something to go jump in right now. And I'm expecting him to just make life miserable, hopefully so not that miserable enough to cover 8.
No, I see Big Cheesy throwing in player props right now in the chat. We're definitely going to go over player props. Honestly, Steven, I think maybe we should do it tomorrow with some of the Act Now steam if we think there is some. We can definitely we definitely got time to spread out these picks through tomorrow and Thursday. All right. Wow. This is going longer than I thought. I didn't know we had so much to talk about, but this parlay really got me screwed up. Excuse the terrible graphic. I'm just trying to do this live on the spot here. These are the 4 legs I think I'm going with. Ended up with NC State. We hit +1,000 odds here. A little 4-legger here. Texas Tech, I feel like that is a strong chat consensus. I'm liking the over that we have model value on San Fran and St. Mary's, correct? I think so. UCF.
Yes.
UCF, yes. Another consensus from the team. And NC State wins the poll at 73%. Gotta hit it with the N now. Not huge on the parlays typically, but if the whole squad's going to be on it, it makes me feel better. Big Cheesy telling me to submit. That's what I'm going to do right after the show. We'll throw it on Twitter as well. If you guys have any other college basketball questions that we didn't get to for tonight, please feel free to ask us on Twitter. We'll do our best to answer those. Get your NBA hats cooking because we're going to just keep breaking down those 12 games that we get on Thursday. And as for March Madness, we're going to keep sprinkling it in. All right, guys, we want to be prepared when this comes around. We're going to be ready to rock with our brackets and know what we want to do. So with that, good luck with your bets tonight. We're so close to the NBA being back. We'll see you guys tomorrow.